Gather round, everyone, and prepare to be swept away by the thrilling exploits of Gino Cuddy, Clive Davis, and Nick Sheehan as they embark on a daring journey across the silent screen. They'll ride through the annals of film history, recounting the captivating saga of the silver screen's very first Western superstar. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Hart to Hart, the William S. Hart podcast.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to an all-new exciting edition of Hart to Hart, the William S. Hart podcast. I'm, of course, one of your hosts, Gino Cuddy, and I'm here with my regular co-hosts, Clive Davis and Nick Sheehan. Tonight, we're going to be reviewing two William S. Hart films. We're going to be reviewing The Narrow Trail from 1917, as well as The Silent Man from 1917. But before we get into that, we are going to do a little digging through the Hart to Hart mailbag here, and because we've actually received some feedback on our previous episode where we reviewed The Square Deal Man and Wolf Lowry. Here's some feedback from Bill West, who is one of the guys who runs William S. Hart Park in the Santa Clarita Valley, and he says, "Hey fellas, I had a great idea, your mileage may vary, about what y'all could do post Tumbleweeds. One, host a closeout episode where you mention Hart's final screen appearance, a very short but funny scene in Marion Davies's Show People from 1928. Or two, start a new series with another actor Santa Clarita Valley thinks as their own, Hoot Gibson, suggested show title Hoot for Hoot. That will keep you guys on the air for years, which would be great. We'll certainly keep that in the back of our minds, Bill. Thank you so much."
Quite happy to do Show People. I don't know about Hoot Gibson just because that's like you said, that would keep us on for decades. That's a lot of films, right?
Yes.
Yes.
And we also received a couple little bits of feedback from a big fan of the show, and I got to give a big tip of the Stetson to Miss Geraldine Smith. She provided some feedback on our previous episode as well, stating two things. First off, she said, "Decided to watch this movie again after listening to part of your podcast." I'm assuming she's discussing Square Deal Man here. "My copy is from Sinister Cinema, but the picture was so grainy. Anyhow, I like the way Bill displayed that light bulb moment after hearing the parson's disapproval of his profession. You could see him actually questioning himself. And did you notice that the name of the ranch, Malpaso, is also the name of Clint Eastwood's production company?"
Mm-hmm.
That was a little nugget of information that I found interesting. And she went on to say this as well. This is in response to our Wolf Lowry bit, saying, "Oh dear me, you guys expressed so much disappointment with the unhappy ending in Wolf Lowry. I have to say, try to get over it. This isn't the first time it's occurred in a Hart film. He gets Marjorie Wilson next time. And from a woman's perspective, when Bill's all flustered in a woman's presence, it's quite charming and makes him even more attractive and lovable. A man doesn't have to be mean and tough to be a man. For goodness sake. Looking forward to your podcasts when you showcase Sand and Tumbleweeds." So thank you for providing that unique. Thank you very much for providing that unique women's perspective on the ending of Wolf Lowry. And Geraldine again, and Bill, thank you for continuing to support the show by listening and just continuing to listen to the show. It's greatly appreciated. So thank you so much. Anyway, tonight we're going to be reviewing two films, as I mentioned before, The Narrow Trail, as well as The Silent Man. Now, the confusing thing is that, and I guess the book, The Complete Films of William S. Hart, A Pictorial Record, is going by, I think, production order on some of these, because while The Narrow Trail was released in December 30th, 1917, The Silent Man was released before, at November 26th, 1917. However, Narrow Trail was actually copyrighted first. So it's a bit of what they did with how Plain Crazy was actually the first cartoon that they made, but then they wound up releasing Steamboat Willie first,
right?
Type deal. So I think we'll just go with the order that is presented in the book and review Narrow Trail first. And so here we go. The Narrow Trail, released December 30th, 1917, produced by William S. Hart Productions, supervised by Thomas H. Ince, and distributed by Paramount Artcraft. This was preceded by two films that we have no access to. It was preceded by The Cold Deck. And how's this for a title? All-star production of patriotic episodes for Second Liberty Loan, which I guess was like a infomercial for a bank called Second Liberty Loan. Anyway, Narrow Trail was directed by Lambert Hillier and William S. Hart, with a story by William S. Hart and a screenplay by Harvey F. Thew, and it was photographed by Joe August. The cast consists of Ice Harding, being portrayed by William S. Hart, Betty Worden, being portrayed by Sylvia Bremer, Admiral Bates, being portrayed by Milton Ross, Moose Halloran, being portrayed by Robert Cortman, and the King, being portrayed by William S. Hart's horse Fritz. And I looked on the IMDb, and this actually said that this was the last film in which Fritz appears in with William S. Hart. So I found that quite interesting. I honestly did not know that. I thought that Fritz, was with him during the whole run up until Tumbleweeds, but this, what I guess, was Fritz's last film with Hart. So
you mentioned Fritz there as well, but I'm wondering, this is unlike, let's say, for instance, some later B cowboy heroes front and center in the credits, they have like with trigger or whatever like that.
Right.
I don't think that was ever, you'd have had to follow the trades and the magazines, and it's never actually on screen in the movies, right? That would have been like background William S. Hart fandom, right? Yeah.
Right.
I was just thinking, you brought it up, but this is the first time I've ever actually identified William S. Hart with a specific horse. But I suppose fans following along at home would have known that Fritz was Israel. I didn't even think about it till you brought it up now, which is kind of interesting.
Right.
If you don't mind, I'm going to interject for a second. So I was reading a piece by Richard Abel about the Narrow Trail, and in it he says basically that around this time, this is when Ince, who we've talked about before, right, who had been kind of producing and working with William S. Hart, this is when their relationship starts to unravel a little bit, and he makes a direct reference to the horse in all of this, basically saying that. So the star's relations with Ince unraveled during the next year and a half, leading Hart to keep his beloved Fritz out of further films with Ince's name attached, so that Ince would not earn another penny off the sweat of Fritz's brow.
Wow. That's interesting to hear.
Yeah. But yeah, in any case, you're quite right. This apparently is the last appearance of the mighty Fritz. And it's a pretty good one, because really this whole story is kind of centered around, in some ways, Fritz. Right.
Right.
Yeah, true.
So yeah, Gino, do you want to give us a plot?
Ice Harding, an outlaw, captures a wild pinto called the King, who is of course played by Fritz. After that, he holds up a stage containing Admiral Bates and his niece Betty. Harding's cold heart instantly melts upon seeing Betty, and he flees with a posse trailing him. He then finds his way to Saddle City, where he once again meets Bates and Betty. Harding passes himself off as a wealthy cattleman and is told by Betty that they are headed to San Francisco. Harding is given an address and heads to San Francisco. As it turns out, the address is a fake, and Bates is nothing more than a saloon manager, and Betty is a dance hall girl. Moose Halloran takes Harding to a saloon to drink and Shanghai him, and Betty is ordered to seduce Harding, where Harding admonishes her. Halloran and Harding then engage in a brawl with the entire saloon. Betty flees Frisco to Saddle City to find Harding. They meet again and both promise to go straight and begin a new life after Harding wins a grand and a horse race. Now, I have to say, like right up front, I think that this is one of Hart's more emotional films. Certainly, I really enjoyed this. Even though the print wasn't the greatest. This print came from my again rather voluminous Alpha video collection. I thought this was one of his more emotional films for sure, and probably one of his better films of this period. I mean, we've just come off of, the Square Deal Man and Wolf Lowry, which Clive, in the previous episode where we discussed those two films, thought of them as middle of the road. It'll be interesting to hear his thoughts on these two films. But I thought that there was more emotional meat. There was more higher stakes in this film than usual. And what a brawl in that bar where
Yes.
both of them get properly bloodied up.
Yeah.
It's rather interesting. Like, I did not expect to see as much gore in a film from 1917,
No.
but here we are. Here
It
we
is an
freaking are,
impressive
and I'm here
brawl
for
scene,
it.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, and it's like it's so frenetic. Like they're throwing haymakers, they're like getting in close. Like there's something really unstagey looking about it. Like, a lot of stage combat looks like everyone's kind of waiting for their cue or whatever. But it just looks
It looks
so.
anarchic.
It looks
Yeah.
completely. I was riveted. I was fast. And then William S. Hart takes a bottle to the face during
Yeah.
the fight. I was yeah. It's very well done. Um,
Mm.
but oh, sorry, I did want to say I know you introduced me as Nick, but I would like to be known for the rest of the show as Grubstake O'Houlihan, if that's all. So
Yeah,
just remember
Clive.
that. It will
Clive. What
be.
did you think of the names in this film? Since I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
they're
no, that one
so
definitely jumped out at me as well. But I
yeah,
figured Nick would want to claim that one.
Right.
like
So
like Moose Halloran and
Moose Halloran is a good is it sounds delicious. I'd order that on the menu. Um,
and of course we have a character, semi spoiler alert, in the next film called Grubstake Higgins. So that ought to be interesting to talk about when we get to the next film. But yeah, like Narrow Trail, I thought it was a pretty interesting like little film, and I believe that this is the first time that William S. Hart is not only directing but producing the films as well. Like, at least in the films that we've discussed, because past films have been produced by Ince, but
Mhm.
this is the first time where it's expressly said produced by William S. Hart Productions. And I guess we've passed the point of the Triangle films, and we're now deeply into the Paramount Artcraft era of his career, which I believe he would continue with at least until Tumbleweeds in 1925. So yeah, there's definitely, with these two films, there's definitely a different feel to them than what we've seen in the past. And especially Narrow Trail, where, again, I think there's more emotional stakes involved. There's, and I considered it kind of like a twist on the usual formula, where
Yep.
usually it's just Hart who's like the cold, distant outlaw who gets turned by a pretty girl. And in this film, it's both the man and the woman who are trying to turn away from a life of ill repute. And I found that quite interesting, to see that twist on the formula, which admittedly probably at this point in time had become stale to audiences. So it was nice to see a new wrinkle in that. I'm
Worth
trying to think
mentioning
here.
as well as the very impressive, crazy looking brawl. Some of the horse
Yeah.
racing stuff as well seems, um, yeah. I mean that kind of looks pretty perilous as well. I mean that only takes
Right.
one horse to fall and everyone rushing up behind. There doesn't seem to be much in the way of I don't know, forced perspectives or like it all seems
No.
pretty captured, pretty raw, right? That's a real
Right.
fucking
Yeah.
hell for
The
leather
whole,
race.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, well, I mean, both. So the whole opening section really is William S. Hart and his kind of bandit gang chasing down, the king horse. Like it's this king of this like gang of wild horses, and he recognizes like, like for like, I need this horse in my life. And so that
Right.
whole opening segment is actually very, very intense, very well filmed, very, dramatic, as you say. And then later in the film, there's a whole section. So at a certain point, the horse is so cool that people start noticing the horse and it's drawing unwanted attention. And so the rest of his gang tell William S. Hart, you need to kill the horse because
Right.
you
Right.
can't have. And he's like, nope, I'm not going to do it. But what I will do is I'll lead the posse chasing us off. And he does that whole stunt where he crosses that fallen log that's gone across like
Mm.
a
Right.
crevasse on the horse. And apparently, uh, the horse fell off. and William S. Hart suffered an injury, and as I guess the horse did, they fell into the canyon during one of the takes.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
yeah, according to a contemporary, movie
Account.
magazine.
Yeah.
But
Yes, I did notice the lack of American Humane Association thing
yeah,
saying
I don't
guarantee no animals were harmed.
don't think that was happening much in the silent era.
No. It
Um,
was more like rest assured, at least one animal was definitely killed for your entertainment in the
Yeah.
um,
course of making this motion picture.
Clive, do you have anything before I kind of go? I have a few things to kind of I'd like to
No, no,
say.
I mean, it's quite the rollicking adventure. I'll say this is one of the better ones, I think, just in terms of pure entertainment. Like there's nothing, there's we keep going back to Hell's Hinges because that's still the high water mark in terms of something really reaching a new level, right? So this is nothing along those lines, but if you just want a straight ahead kind of it's one of the ones this has come up a few times so not so much for us, but you're very aware of people who don't very unfamiliar with um, silent era films that occasionally,
Mm.
there's a certain amount of special pleading necessary to get someone to sit down and watch something. I feel both of these actually are closer to a kind of gateway, not so much because they're classics, but they're both quite good examples of, I think after about 5 minutes, I can imagine people acclimatizing to these two a bit easier than other ones. I don't know why. I don't know if it's the pacing or something, but like they felt they felt kind of close to contemporary movie making kind of beats and rhythms. Did you
Right.
feel this?
Yeah, no, I think you're
Yeah.
right. So my first note on the narrow trail says, "Does the S in William S. Hart stand for Stockholm Syndrome?" Because I'm really getting on board at this point. Like I feel like I've completely been immersed in this world.
Right.
But yeah, I totally agree, Clive. This feels like yeah, very comfortable. Very, it's just entertaining, beginning to end. Shot really well. Um, yeah, not laggy. At no point was I looking at my watch or whatever, thinking like, no, it was totally engaging, and it changes as it goes on multiple times. Like suddenly we're in different locations. We're in San Francisco. We're in like San Francisco in the whole middle section.
Yeah,
Fascinating.
like it's kind of like what Roy Rogers and Gene Autry would do in their westerns later and have it be like a neo-modern western, where you see telephone lines and there's
Ah,
cars in
yes.
them and everything else. So
Those are
yeah,
very odd, those Westerns. This didn't
yeah,
quite feel like them. Those are strange because, yeah, and they're interesting. So, um, people who follow Japanese cult cinema might be aware of what they called the Nikatsu were making the borderless action films of the 50s, right? Which are weird hybrids where you have like young Japanese like drifter like heroes walking around like playing guitar and riding horses and stuff, but they suddenly ride into like a modern Japanese city or town or something, and it's like they are called borderless, right? Because they just exist in a cinematic zone. But yes, years before, you're quite right, they were doing those quickies, and sometimes they address it, right? Sometimes it's like it's not the Old West. It's some people visiting a dude ranch or something like that, right? So
right,
they get it. That's how they explain all the Western trappings. But then other times they don't. So you're just watching a
right.
film thinking, when is this set? This is weird. Like, yeah, no, it's interesting to you mention that. But
Like, why
anyway,
is
yeah, that's all I was just quite impressed by that. So yeah, carry on, Nick, on your
Um,
little
yeah, so I mean, so in the opening section, like there's that bit where they're robbing stagecoaches, and there's a little part in that that again to me seems very ahead of its time. It's William S. Hart's ice has come up. He's stolen he's stolen from the folks, and he rides off, and then they take a pot shot at him as he's leaving, and he turns around and brings his horse right back into their faces, and he does this bit where he basically says, I don't mind you taking a shot at me, but be careful of the hat. It
Yes,
turns on
I
and
like
rides off
that.
again. And it's very like immediately it made me think of I think it's in a few dollars more with the whole part where Clint Eastwood does the whole you know, I don't mind you laughing, but I think my mule's feelings are getting hurt. Like, and it's something about it just it made me think this is a prototypical version of the kind of same shtick that Clint Eastwood is going to be doing in 50 years, after this.
Right.
Um, and then so and then the whole all the stuff in San Francisco was fascinating to me, like him just wandering around in this. As you said, yeah, okay, they were careful how they shot it, so it doesn't look ultra modern, but it's still weird seeing William S. Hart in this kind of more concrete environment, and especially when he goes down to the docks. He gets lonely at one point and hangs out at the docks and falls in with a press gang, right, of like dudes who are looking to like try to knock him out and have him put on a boat. We assume, right?
Yeah.
And this is how they get him back to the clubhouse where he meets with the girl who's broken his heart and all that stuff. Um, I also have the fact that he consults with his dog before he decides to go to San Francisco.
Yeah.
Is a sit down heart to heart conversation with his thinking about going to San Francisco and just looking to get my dog's input.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean a lot of it. Gino, you've kind of said a lot of what I was going to say about the choreography. I mean, it is kind of funny the whole double standard he has when he gets really mad at the girl for not being what she kind of presented herself to be, when he clearly has done exactly the same thing. When he has told her
Yeah.
that he hasn't come clean about who he is.
Oh,
Then
hang
later
on. He
on.
gets fed up with the women,
Hmm.
decides to go and hang out with some dudes in San Francisco.
Yes, at the docks. Yes.
Interesting. This sounds like there should be a disco soundtrack involved.
Possibly, yes. The YMCA could have been involved. But I also love at the end. So there's this whole scene near the end where he's going to rob a bank, right? It seems like so maybe he's gone. He's gone to this horse race, and the horse race is going to be actually a distraction. He's going to rob his bank. He bumps into the girl, and then he kind of comes clean. He tells her, you know what, we need each other. We can keep each other on the straight and narrow. Uh, and then he's going to leave. He's not going to rob the bank. He's just going to go. And then somebody insults his horse. And he's like, nope, that's not going to stand. I'm riding in this race, even though it's a stupid thing to do. I'm gonna do this because how dare
And
you? Uh,
and I'm probably in all reality going to get caught, as like this bandito that I was before at this horse race, but he's like, I don't give a damn.
yeah,
I'm gonna run this race, with this horse, and I'm gonna and I love that it is very frenetic at that ending, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like how not only does he do the race, but like he like gallops off,
Yeah.
grabs her
yeah.
as he's galloping off, and just jumps over a fence, and they just go somewhere. You
It's
But
know,
also,
actually quite the bizarre ending.
it's
yeah,
great. No, because
Yeah.
it's 'cause before that. Don't forget, he wins the race, and then he's like, he goes to get the prize, even though everyone's now
Yeah,
recognized him as
yeah,
bandit. He walks up, and they're like, just hang on a second. Before we give you this money, we do need to ask you the question: Who are you? And he's like, I'm the guy that won this race.
He's he's
yeah,
impressively reckless, I think. Because it's
Yes.
kind of it in just a minor way, but he's done it a few times now. William S. Hart clearly liked playing around with his image a little bit, right? So we get to this point, and the William S. Hart we know from before, like he wouldn't do anything this kind of reckless, right? And totally endanger his and her life. But yeah, in this film, it is quite interesting that he's kind of quite comfortable with yeah, fucking with his image in a way that a lot of people wouldn't be, right? They'd
Hmm.
be
right.
very protective of that image. So I think there was a lot of good. I feel as if there was a lot of goodwill towards William S. Hart, maybe, and I think part of it might have been like considering he's, the dude, right?
Hmm.
Right.
There's something about him. I mean, I don't know. Maybe we'll find out more when we read some books at the end of this and we get to know more about behind the scenes. But my gut tells me he's a man who doesn't take himself too seriously. Do you know what I mean? I think
Yes.
he seems comfortable enough in his skin to try different things out, and I'm kind of beginning to understand why Gino kind of initiated this project, because the more you, not to overstate it, but I'm genuinely starting to really like William S. Hart. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I told you,
he seems
Clive.
like a,
The
yeah,
S stands
Stockholm
for
syndrome.
Stockholm
Yeah,
syndrome.
yeah, yeah,
You're in the cult now. It just
yeah,
you can only watch so many of these things before you really do start to get why he had the appeal he did, why he was a
yeah.
megastar of his
And I
time.
Right.
think it does. I think it does. It doesn't matter how open-minded you are, and we're testament to this, I think, because obviously we're not no strangers to watching silent film. But even for us, there's like a, yeah, like you said, it's like a process of acclimatization a little bit, and then you can actually appreciate in context what he was doing,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
But
And yeah,
I mean,
starting to get into that now.
yeah, and I think like there's more than one flavor of action hero, and I think that he's kind of
He's the Baskin Robbins.
he is. I
He's
think so. I
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I really do think he's experimenting very early with variations on. It's not always going to be, yeah, the good bad man. Sometimes he's a real hellraiser, and he's funny. Sometimes he's more morose and serious, and so yeah, we get he has more range, I think, probably than you might guess. If you'd only ever seen, and Hell's Angels is amazing, but if that's all you'd ever seen, you might think, well, that's what he does. But we've seen he's definitely capable of more or
Yeah, he's
Right.
not just that brooding presence of Hell's
yeah.
Angels. Yeah, like in this, he's sometimes, when he's at his silliest, he's almost like a Stan Laurel in a cowboy hat or something, right? Like,
Yes. Yeah, this is the one where he falls over backwards down a set of steps right at one point when trying to impress the girl early on. Yeah.
Right.
Mm. But no, this one, yeah, for me too. So I think we're all agreed that this is actually a bit of a standout,
yeah.
especially that bar fight. Just
Oh God, yes.
Mm.
uh, really thrilling. Um, okay, so shall we move on to unless anybody else has anything to say about that, we can move on to the Silent Man.
So maybe here's the place to put it, right? Because we're going to talk about it now. I shall reprise for the benefit of our listeners.
Mhm.
William S. Hart. He's the hero. He's gonna bring claim jumping down to zero.
Thank you for that, Clive.
What an intro to our next film, which is The Silent Man, which was released November 26, 1917. This was produced by William S. Hart Productions and supervised by Thomas H. Ince and distributed by Paramount Artcraft. It was directed by William S. Hart with a story and screenplay by Charles Kenyon. It was photographed by Joe August with assistant direction by Lambert Hillier. The cast consists of Silent Bud Marr, being portrayed by William S. Hart, Betty Bryce, being portrayed by Vola Vale, Handsome Jack Presley, being portrayed by Robert McKim, David Bryce, being portrayed by Harold Goodwin, Grubstake Higgins, being portrayed by J.P. Lockney, Peach and Bill Hardy, being portrayed by George P. Nichols, Mrs. Hardy, being portrayed by Gertrude Clare, Ames Mitchell, being portrayed by Milton Ross, and Topaz, being portrayed by Dorcas Matthews. And the plot of this film is Silent Bud Marr is a miner who, for years, has prospected the wastes of the vast Arizona desert. He finally makes a rich strike and comes into the small border town of Bake Oven to enter his claim at the government land office. He goes to the Hello Thar Saloon and dance hall conducted by handsome Jack Presley, though the actual proprietor of the place is Ames Mitchell, who owns practically all of the town. Mitchell promises Presley a deed to the dance hall and gambling resort in return for the entry claim to Marr's rich find. This Presley is enabled to secure through the connivance of a clerk in the land office. When Marr, victimized by a gambling setup, returns to the claim, he finds Mitchell, Presley, and their hirelings at work. They tell Marr that his claim is registered in another direction. In the meantime, Presley has sought to marry Betty Bryce, a young Virginia girl who has come to Arizona on account of her little brother David's health. Presley holds out alluring promises if she will marry him. keeping from her the fact that he already has a wife in the person of Topaz, one of the inmates of the dance hall. This marriage, however, is known to Mar, and when he holds up the stage carrying the ore from his jumped claim, he not only takes the bags of gold, but abducts Betty and carries her and her brother to the mountain home of Preaching Bill Hardy and his wife. There's an exciting chase after Mar and Betty. Presley heads the sheriff's posse, to whom he announces that Mar has kidnapped his girl. Presley burns Hardy's church when the preacher refuses to disclose the whereabouts of Mar and Betty. Mar has made Betty understand that he has saved her from a fate as one of Presley's playthings in the dance hall. He allows little David to tie and lead him into town to secure the reward offered for his capture, that the money may be used to rebuild the ruined church. Mar is placed on trial for kidnapping Betty and for holding up the stage. He remains silent before Presley's accusations to protect Betty, and only the last minute intervention of a government agent, heretofore incognito, prevents his lynching. Preaching Bill is happy to marry the reunited couple.
Good name for a silent Western, really.
Yeah.
Oh, except that this has my favorite scene in this whole film is there's a scene where the preacher is asked about the character of the sketchy scumbag who appears to own the saloon but doesn't own it, but does all the nefarious baddie.
Yeah.
And proceeds to start swearing. And what they do is they have a series of like animated explosions happen.
Yes, that was good. Yes,
I like that.
And it's fantastic. It's a
not
super
seen that
effective.
Before. That was good.
No,
yeah,
but it totally works to get across.
Again, William S. Hart being playful.
Yes, yeah, but also like finding a way to use the technology that's really in its earliest stages and putting across like, yeah, ooh, that's some strong language. It's literally exploding off of the title cards.
Right.
Brilliant.
It's almost like something Terry Gilliam would do or something, isn't it?
Yes. It's like quite surreal. Yeah, anyway, does anyone else, I don't want to dominate things, so does anyone else want to speak to it a little bit before I give my 2 cents or my bag of dust?
You go ahead there, Gino. You got any thoughts on The Silent Man?
Well, I like this movie. I think I liked The Narrow Trail a lot better than this one, but I did enjoy Silent Man. I too enjoyed the swearing bit. And I did like the character of Preaching Bill. I thought he was a really good character. Grubstake Higgins is a freaking fantastic name. I think Mexican Pete can now be retired and we could finally give the throne to Grubstake Higgins. What say you, Clive? Do you
All
think...
hail Grubstake. Yes.
but yeah, I thought this was a really good film. I really enjoyed this one.
Did you think maybe that the first, I don't know, like it eventually kind of switches tack, but the first, I don't know, reel or something does feel a little bit greatest hits of William S. Hart, doesn't it? Like the way he comes in and he's tricked into the gambling and there's a floozy and all of that is like, oh, okay, we've seen this before.
Yes. Right? I think,
but then it kind of switches up a little bit on us, though, right?
Well, it's funny you mention that because this does feel kind of like a greatest hits now that you're talking about it, because you have Dorcas Matthews, who in the past it would have been Louise Glaum playing that character, and you have a church being burned, Hell's Hinges.
Yeah, I was thinking that as well, because I'm not scene as well is it's a little bit of a tonal shift as well, isn't it? The shit gets real, as the kids say nowadays at that point, right?
Yeah, and it really is interesting to see just how barren the desert is at the beginning of this film, like before everything was populated. Like it's just, of course we have a little kid character in this, so that might prevent Clive from really enjoying this film.
But what happens to that kid is
God, yes,
quite
I was
astonishing.
Yes, like
to be honest,
like spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't seen this film, but a little boy gets shot, and William S. Hart is the one who shoots him.
I literally jumped when that happened because it was quite unexpected, and like he just. Basically, the kid, near the end of the film, the kid decides he's going to earn some money to help with the church. I think you already covered this in your plot synopsis, Gino. Yeah, And so he takes a gun and takes a pot shot at William S. Hart, who doesn't know who it is. So he just spins, draws, shoots the kid down. The kid goes bang, behind some sagebrush or whatever. And I was like, and then the movie pauses for a moment, so you don't know. I thought like, holy crap, he's killed that kid.
Stupid little
Whoa.
bastard.
Wow, like this movie has gone to a place I never would have. Now it turns out, okay, another spoiler. No, he's just nipped him apparently. He
Yeah.
still shot him though.
It's a bit of a shame that, but at least we got a
no.
glimpse of what could have been.
It is. It's a jarring scene.
William
It
S.
is,
Hart
yes.
in Would You Kill a Child?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It impressed me with its uncompromising nature for sure.
Church burning, kids shooting, good
Yeah,
time. I'm telling
yeah,
you.
exactly. This Western's not pulling its punches.
No,
It's
no,
a
it's not.
Satanist's dream.
Well, the town is called Bake Oven, which is a great
Yeah.
name as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then isn't there also I just saw the movie today, but there's also the other town in it,
Oh,
which is called
Chloride.
Chloride.
Yes, yeah. The towns of Bake Oven and Chloride. Yeah.
See what I mean? William S. Hart's messing us about a little bit, isn't he? I think he's having some fun at our expense.
Yeah, no, there's a lot. There's for me there was a lot to like. I mean,
Again, it's not quite as you're right, Gino. Narrow Trails are more straight up, like a better, more coherent kind of film. This is a bit more, kind of disjointed and all over the place. But it is quite entertaining.
Yes,
it is. Yes, I mean there is a lot going on. I mean, I'm going to be transparent, folks. Like when I do the notes and everything, I usually like to write out the plot synopsis as I'm watching the film and everything. And I was like, I kept trying to write this plot synopsis, and I'm like, I'm writing too much information down. And so I ultimately decided the heck with it. When I review this with Clive and Nick, I'm just going to read from the Diane Kaiser Kozarski book. I did watch the film. I'm not like, this is not a Cliff Note situation, but it's just I couldn't prepare an adequate enough plot synopsis this go around for this film because there's just so much meat in it.
There's a lot
I'm
of
glad you mentioned it, because at first, just before you recorded, you said to me and Nick, you told us like, yeah, I haven't written down for this, so I'm just going to read it from the book. I hope no one notices. And I thought, oh, fair enough. And then you hold the book up to the camera, and I thought, some of our eagle-eyed viewers, but I forget we're not doing video.
We are not. This is not video. No. But. Yeah, no, it's you're right. There's a lot of event in this, a lot of kind of incidents all the way through the film. So one of the many scenes I like is near the beginning when he comes into the saloon and he keeps ordering giant glasses of water and just.
Well, to be fair, if you've been out in the freaking desert doing all this, wouldn't you? The first thing you're going to order is not dehydrating wine and liquor.
Right.
It's going to be water, and ice cold water at that. But to be fair, I thought, Clive mentioning William S. Hart playing with his image a little bit. I'm like, is William S. Hart becoming a teetotaler?
Well, we mentioned Fritz the horse before, and maybe you know this. So his new horse, at least the horse character, is Nicodemus, right? Is the new horse?
No, that's the donkey.
That's the donkey. So does the donkey, are we going to see more of Nicodemus?
Perhaps not. It's been a while since I've, usually I'm going to state right up front here. Usually when I watch William S. Hart films, I tend to stick to the early ones, but so we're heading into the territory now where I'm less familiar. I mean, I've seen things like Wagon Tracks and White Oak and other things like that, but there's some of his later films which I still have yet to see. So this is going to be just as much of an eye-opening experience for me as it is will be for you lads. So that'll be interesting. But I think this is like the ultimate William S. Hart film with the best names, like Preaching Bill Hardy, Silent Bud Marr, Handsome Jack Presley, Grubstake Higgins.
Yeah. I said, the greatest hits nature. I mean, it is now. That's what I call William S. Hart Volume 4, whatever. Right? It's like it really does feel like. We take this bit. not that's a bit unfair because that makes it seem as if it's like, you know, thrown together, or I don't think it is that. It's just it seems a little bit of a placeholder, like because they're churning out so many films, and it's almost like, oh, let's take this from there, and how can we make this a little bit different? Oh, I know, let's almost have an infanticide. We'll have a church, but and so it's not, yeah, it doesn't have the kind of straight kind of narrative of a narrative,
Cohesion, yes.
but as a kind of thrown together greatest hits gumbo, it's kind of fun.
Very, very
Yeah.
easy to watch.
Yeah.
And then some of the cinematography and some of the framing is
Oh
I
yeah, I
some of
like
the
the cinematography in this one with all the close-ups and everything. It was
Mm.
beautiful.
And then also, yeah, the close-ups were amazing. And also, there's a few scenes. There was one scene where I quite like the whole scene, actually. It's the scene where he's kidnapped the girl who, from the sketchy saloon owner guy. And she, at this point, thinks he's a villain, right? Well, he kind of is. But, she thinks he's a villain. So he's got her bound and gagged, right?
Yeah.
And there's the whole thing where he's like, blink, if you want me to take off the gag, and But anyway, there's this beautiful scene where they shoot through this kind of gap at the rocks, and you can see the horses of the posse that's chasing them down below moving, and it's
Yeah.
a really nice piece. And then there's a scene where he goes up onto a kind of a rocky promontory under the moon is up in the sky, and he's just kind of standing alone on top. It's
Yes.
beautiful,
Mm.
beautiful
Beautiful
shot.
cinematography. Joe
Uh,
August, I think, is the one who shot this. He is to be commended for
Yeah.
this. And
It's almost as if they're, it's like, okay, we might not have our shit together totally with the story, but at least we can make it look good, right? And
mhm.
right,
make it
right.
look visually arresting from time to time.
And
Yeah.
two last scenes that I really like. There's one where he goes into town to buy. He's decided he's going to just take off with the girl. They're going to go off and he's going to go prospecting again, right? So he goes into the town to buy some prospecting stuff, and he bumps into the villain of the piece, who's also in there shopping, and does the whole bit where he basically kind of surreptitiously at gunpoint pulls him out of the room and then tells him, "You're going to go back in there and rob the place while I have my gun on you, and so I'm going to make you the criminal you've made me." I thought that whole scene, the
Yeah,
block, I thought the whole thing was quite well done.
and where I thought that was going, I thought that the intent was with that was William S. Hart's way of getting the heat off himself.
Right? Yes. Uh,
But it turned out really not to be the case.
yes, kind of. Yeah, it's a bit of a dangling thread because almost immediately the guy goes back to being in charge again. And then and then there's also this beautiful scene of this young, the young woman kind of just wandering around in a dress in this like idyllic forest meadow that looks like something out of a pre-Raphaelite painting. It like almost doesn't fit at all with the kind of the harshness of the West, but beautifully done. Uh,
Right, right.
and then right at the end, I'd forgotten I rewatched the very end of it because I had I remembered the courtroom scene, but I'd forgotten that the villain does the whole kind of sheepish, like, "Oh, I'm cornered," but then attempts to take her as a hostage, and then William S. Hart jumps face first through a second story window, um, lands on the ground and rescues her, and I was like, "Yeah, that's cool action stuff."
Yeah.
Always glad to see that. So no, yeah, no, I thought it was, yeah, for if it was a greatest hits, they chose their hits well. It was a good playlist.
Yes,
Oh, and then
agreed.
right, and then they dragged the bad guy face first behind his horse as well, which I always appreciate in a Western. And we haven't seen it much, actually. We haven't seen William S. Hart do it before, have we? Have we seen him tie somebody to the back of his horse and drag him face down in the dirt?
I don't think
I don't think
so.
so.
No.
So yeah, no, I liked it a lot. I like both of these a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
So
it's one of the better pairings thus far, I think.
mhm,
And also does genuinely have me quite kind of curious as to what's coming up next around the corner. Do you know what I mean?
mhm.
Yeah.
Because it's not necessarily as predictable as I might have initially thought it was going to be, right?
Yeah, I didn't
Well,
expect to see an 8-year-old kid shot down
yes.
by our hero.
We
That
can
was.
only hope and pray.
But what we actually do have coming up is a pretty interesting double bill. We have the film that I believe we reviewed a film earlier on in this podcast project that was later remade as this film, but we're finally going to get to Blue Blazes Rawdon next.
Okay.
And also on that bill is going to be at least the remaining footage, and I'm going to read through the plot synopsis in the Diane Kaiser Kozarski book of Riddle Gone, the film where William S. Hart battles with Lon Chaney Sr.
Ooh.
I don't know.
Hmm.
I haven't seen the Riddle Gone footage, so I don't know if that battle is in this footage. But it's interesting anyway to know that William S. Hart does battle with Lon Chaney Sr. So
Oh, yeah.
it's a film that we absolutely need to talk about, even though
Hmm.
there's very little footage from it. You know,
Yeah, I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know that was coming up because how much, I mean, I don't think of Lon Chaney much in terms of westerns at all, but
right?
was he in any
I just know,
westerns?
like you, I primarily know him as a horror actor, but Lon Chaney authoritarians, feel free to step in here and give us the wider scope of his career. Certainly, like just let us know.
Hmm.
I
You
mean,
know,
I, I've seen a bunch of his stuff, and yeah, a lot of his stuff it crosses that line. It's not necessarily straight up horror. It's more horror, kind of melodrama, or
yeah, like The Penalty and stuff like
yes,
that.
yes. And I know he's brilliant stuff like The Unknown and stuff like. But yeah, and he was a very busy man, and he was a man of a thousand faces. So I'm sure he could be a cowboy as well as the next guy, probably
Yeah.
better, right? But knowing Lon Chaney, it's a fucking cowboy with no legs who does sharp shooting and
So,
high
yes,
wire acts and things like that, doesn't he?
character that should be in a spaghetti western.
Yeah, but I'm really very interested to see Lon Chaney in a Western context. And yet, maybe I'm ignorant. Maybe he did fucking hundreds of them.
Well,
But
apparently, so I'm on Lon Chaney's Wikipedia page as we speak, and apparently this is a very early role for him, and it wasn't until he played a substantial role in William S. Hart's Riddle Gone that he was really noticed by Hollywood as having potential
ah,
character actor,
now
and
that's
it's
it. See, I
that.
didn't expect this project to intersect with Lon Chaney, but I suppose it makes a lot of sense because Hollywood of the era was a much smaller town, right? A much smaller
Yes.
town, a lot of crossover. So really, I shouldn't be surprised. But that's fascinating to think that we're gonna creep over a little bit into Cheney territory.
Yeah,
Right. Right.
and really, in a way, I think the film that makes his career, apparently.
Wow. Okay. Is that
So
next time then, those two, is it?
yeah,
Yes.
awesome.
Now, again, I don't know if he actually appears in the footage that is
Right. But
extant.
still, we'll
Yeah.
have to talk about it, I think. We'll have
Yeah.
to bring it up.
Right.
And, yeah.
Right.
So Gino,
Maybe at least we can
if
find
you
some
can
stills or
share,
something, or yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
and if you can share the plot synopsis from that book maybe with us somehow, even just take a photograph of it or something like that, so
I have
that
a scanner, so I'll be able to do it.
perfect, awesome,
And since it's a pictorial record, we'll actually get some pretty nice pictures, hopefully along with it.
awesome.
Yeah.
Before
All right.
then, I mean, do we have anything more to say about these two, or you're gonna ride us on
For
out there, Gino?
Well, I liked both of these films, but for me, I'd watch Narrow Trail again over Silent Man. But both
Yeah.
of these, are excellent introductory films to the life and legacy of William S. Hart. I mean, Hell's Hinges being the ultimate film that you should see if you're at all to see any of his films. That and I guess Tumbleweeds,
Hmm.
but these two are as good a place as any to get your feet wet with his career, especially considering that Silent Man does play as a greatest hits, if you will. But that's pretty much all I have to say about these two films. Unless you guys have anything else you want to say.
I'm looking
No,
forward to clipping Silent Man for my years in the making infanticide in film documentary entitled, the working title, Kill the Little Bastards Now. So I'm looking forward to including this clip as an early example.
Ah, I see. Yes.
And when you're done making that documentary, you should put it on a film reel or DVD or whatever. Put it in a hot air balloon and send it up to heaven. So and say to W.C. Fields, my biggest hero.
That's true. I like to think of a young W.C. Fields in a movie theater watching Silent Man, and when that scene happens, he's like, "Ah, where's this popcorn?"
Awesome. All right. Yeah, no, I second what you said, Gino. I think both of these films are good, and I would agree that the Narrow Trail has the edge in terms of it's there's a bit more new stuff in there, a bit more stuff we haven't seen before, and yeah, but both were lots of fun.
Right. Shall we mosey on out then?
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for yet another episode of Heart to Heart, the William S. Hart podcast. I have been Gino Cuddy, and my co-hosts have been Clive Davis and Nick Sheehan. And before we get out of here, I just want to remind you, join the Facebook group. There's a lot of interesting conversation that happens there, and a lot of interesting characters come on by the old saloon. So feel free to join us there. We're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, iHeartRadio Podcasts, you name it. Our podcast will probably be found on it. And I guess that about does it. In the words of William S. Hart, adios amigos. God bless you all, each and every one. Good night.
This has been a Gino Cuddy podcast production.